and welcome to Odds on Australian Open 2022. Yes, we are going to analyze with Sean Calvert the draw, and we are going to tell you his favorites, the odds, everything with or without Djokovic. Of course, let me know what you think in the comment section, who is going to win this Australian Open, and don't forget to press the like and subscribe to our channel. And now let's go on with the show. We are with our tennis expert, Sean Calvert, to analyze the Australian Open 2022. Wow, we've heard a lot about this Australian Open already. Sean, how are you?
Yeah, I'm all right, thanks. Yeah, I'm just inwardly digesting all of this Novak Djokovic news. You know, will he play? Won't he play? Is he going to get kicked out of the country? All that stuff. I mean, it's unprecedented, really, to have this kind of worldwide attention on an Australian Open, any tennis tournament, really, but to have it as worldwide news for like 2 weeks, it's crazy. It's like I say, it's unprecedented. But yeah, we'll see what happens. We don't quite know if he's going to play yet, but we'll have to assume that he is.
Exactly. We've never heard that much about Australian Open. We already know the draw. We don't know actually if whether Djokovic is going to play or not, but we have the odds, and we still know that Djokovic is the favorite. We have odds 2.5. We can check in Oddspedia the outright odds for the tournament. And the big question mark, Sean, if he plays, how he's going to handle the pressure. No, he talked about the pressure when he lost in the Olympics in Tokyo. He lost also the final in the US Open. And I guess this is going to be the massive point in his way of playing in Melbourne.
Yeah, I think it's a different kind of pressure, to be honest. The pressure that he was under in the Olympics, and then to a slightly lesser extent, but still quite a lot, the US Open. I think that was more of just up to him. It was a pressure that he had on himself to kind of make history with the Golden Slam and the Calendar Slam, neither of which actually happened. But this, I think he'll actually, in a weird way, I think he might actually enjoy this if he does play. It's pretty odds on that. I mean, the majority of the Australian crowd are going to be against him, you would assume. But I think that sort of backs to the wall mentality that a lot of great champions would actually quite enjoy that. I think someone at his stage of his career, you know, he's 34. He's seen it all. He's had crowds against him before. I think if he plays, I think this would actually spur him on, to be honest. I don't think he would be the kind of guy that would just go, oh, okay, they're booing me, I'll just leave. I don't see that happening. I think it would actually galvanize him, to be perfectly honest.
He likes rock and roll. The problem, Sean, the odds are very low, right, to back Djokovic. Well, we don't know actually if he's playing, but 2.5.
Yeah, you can obviously back him. You'll get your stakes back if he doesn't start the tournament. You'll get your stakes back. So you could look at it that way. You could look at it in the sense that you've got a slightly bigger price now than you would have had a month, 6 weeks ago. And if he doesn't play, you get your stakes back. You could look at it that way. But yeah, he's looking at the draw. He can't really complain about the draw, his early draw. But you would have to say, looking at that, Medvedev's probably got the best of it. He's on his own in the sense that Nadal, Djokovic, and Zverev are in the top half. So Medvedev's going to be pretty happy as well.
So let's talk about Medvedev. Odds 3.0 for him to win the tournament, the highest ones. And he's the latest winner of a Grand Slam, as we saw him winning the US Open, also played the finals of the ATP against Zverev. You also consider him massive favorite after seeing also the draw?
Yeah, I mean, looking at that bottom half of the draw that Medvedev's in, he on paper, it's an excellent draw for him away from the Nadals, the Zverevs, and obviously the Djokovic's. His first round, Larksonen, can't see him losing that. But his second round, he might play Nick Kyrgios, which could be anything. To be honest, Kyrgios hasn't played really for quite some considerable time. He keeps withdrawing. He's had asthma, and I think he's got COVID at the minute. So you wouldn't have thought that Kyrgios would beat Medvedev over best of 5 sets, but you never know with Kyrgios. he could turn up on the day. It's the kind of match that he would really enjoy, actually. Kyrgios, complete underdog, crowd on his side. You wouldn't be absolutely stunned if Kyrgios did win that one. It's quite possible. And his next round, actually, Medvedev would be quite. If he did beat Kyrgios, his next round would be quite tough as well, because he'd be playing either Ugo Humbert, who's beaten him a couple of times, beat him recently in the ATP Cup only a week or so ago, or possibly Struff, who beat him on grass, I think in Halle last year, or maybe Botic van der Zandschulp, who was also really improved on hard courts. Actually got to the quarters of the US Open, lost to Medvedev. So those early rounds for Medvedev, if he negotiates those first 3 rounds, the rest of it looks very winnable with the likes of Schwartzman, Rublev, possibly Cilic or Auger Aliassime, Evans. These guys, you would expect a Medvedev that's won 3 or 4 rounds to be able to beat those guys and make the final, make the semi-final. At that stage, he's got possibly Tsitsipas, but who knows how fit he is. So I think the first 3 rounds for Medvedev are key, really. If he can get through those 3, you would fancy him to make the final. My concern with Medvedev is basically the 5-set thing. He was cramping again at the ATP Cup against Humbert. He's only ever won, I think, he's actually lost 7 out of his 9 5-set matches that have gone to 5 sets. He tends to win dominantly, 3-love or 3-1. If he gets into a dogfight, long match in Australia in the heat, that would be my only real concern about him. But he can't complain about his draw at all.
Another player, Sean, that doesn't negotiate very well the 5-set things in the Grand Slams is Alexander Zverev. He lost in 5 in the US Open with NOLE. He lost in 5 in Roland Garros against Tsitsipas. Is he ready to step up and win finally a Grand Slam?
Yeah, possibly. He's got every chance. You would say on the form that he displayed towards the end of last season, the last half of last season was absolutely superb. And I think key to that was he's improved on second serve massively. At one stage, his second serve was an accident waiting to happen. It would be, you would never know when these ridiculous spells of double faults would come in, but he's cut that out almost completely. If we look at his stats from 2020, I know 2020 was a slightly disrupted season, but at that stage he was hitting 0.39 double faults per game and only winning 45% of his second serve points. And since July last year, he's cut that to 0.18 double faults, which is brilliant, really, and a massive improvement on what he was doing before. Now he's winning 56% of his second serve points. So that in itself is one good reason why Zverev is now a bona fide challenger for majors. And as far as his draw is concerned, he's obviously in the same half as Djokovic, but his draw looks. There are a few possible pitfalls in that. I can't see him losing to Altmaier in the first round. Millman is always a tough prospect in Australia. That could end up being a grind, 4 or 5 sets if he's not careful. Lloyd Harris is extremely dangerous in these conditions. That would be a round 3 potential match for Zverev. And then you might have to look at players like Shapovalov, Opelka. These guys could be dangerous. And then possibly Nadal and Djokovic. That's just to get to the final. So it's not by any means an easy draw for him. It wouldn't be someone that I would bet on at those odds, given that draw. But you would have to put him in with a pretty decent chance, yeah.
The odds for Zverev to win is 4.5. We get higher odds for Rafa Nadal, 12 to win. But it's a big question mark, right? Especially the physique. He's been injured and away from the tour for a while. He came back in Melbourne. He won. That's awesome. Actually, he's been winning ATP titles since 2004, every single year. But we don't know what to expect, about Nadal.
Yeah, a difficult one with Rafa. What was the last time he played? One tournament since early August, the tournament that you mentioned in Melbourne that he won. I think he only had to play 3 matches there because there was a withdrawal.
Yeah.
for Greek sport, I think. So yeah, fitness is the problem. He's only played one match since August. One tournament since August. He had COVID as well, didn't he, towards the end of December. So fitness-wise, little bit of a question mark, you would have to say, over his ability to last the distance. And his draw, I got to be honest, his draw isn't great. It's not the best of draws. I mean, he's got Giron in the first round. He should win that. Potentially Kokkinakis in the second round. Now that could be a heck of a match. The way that Kokkinakis is playing at the moment, and a guy who's had just so many injury problems, but is incredibly talented. And if he can stay fit for a year or two, he could find himself towards the top of the men's game. Great player, like him a lot. And that could be a tough match for Nadal. After that, he might have another big hitter, Karen Khachanov, who's hit and miss, in and out, but still on his day, very powerful player, not easy to beat. After that, another big hitter potentially in Karatsev or Hurkacz. Both of these guys more than capable of giving Nadal a match on a quick hard court on their day. And then maybe Zverev, and then maybe Djokovic. So that's to get to the final. So tough one, I think, to expect him to come back in his first big tournament since August and to win it. And he's had COVID as well. I think it's a bit of a tall order. Not impossible for Rafa to do it, but I would probably want a bit of a bigger price about that, considering his draw and his lack of match activity over the last sort of 6-7 months.
Probably his target will be the clay season, of course, and winning another Roland Garros in his career. Remember, he won in Australia in 2009, far away for sure. And you mentioned this player, Stefanos Tsitsipas. He will play at home, no, because Melbourne is full of Greeks. And last season, he performed really good in Australia. He arrived to the semi-finals. But as you mentioned, he's not delivering. Lately, odds for him to win the tournament, 30. Yeah,
I mean, I actually backed Tsitsipas a little while ago. He was basically 50-1 a week or so ago. You could get that on the exchanges, maybe slightly shorter elsewhere. But I've taken a punt on Tsitsipas this is obviously before the draw. As it turns out, he's got a great draw, so I'm happy with that. But obviously the fact that there's a reason he's 50-1, and that's because he's had elbow surgery. Long-term elbow problem that really put him back last season. Had elbow surgery towards the end of November. You would think that a player who had elbow surgery in November isn't going to be winning a Grand Slam in January. However, his doctor apparently says he's never seen anyone recover so quickly from that operation. He played in the ATP Cup, played okay, considering that considering he's just had elbow surgery like 6 weeks ago. Played well. He says of his injury, the latest thing he said, I can see myself performing at 100% at the Australian Open. That seems a little bit optimistic in the circumstances, but he looked okay. He looked like he was hitting okay in the ATP Cup, and now he's got another couple of weeks on top of that as well. Good draw. We can't complain about his draw. Obviously, Medvedev is a sticking point, but he wouldn't play until the semi-finals. But that quarter of the draw is really wide open. If Tsitsipas is fit, then that 50-1 is I'm really happy with that. Obviously, it's a big gamble. He could retire in the first round. Who knows? But yeah, if he's fit, then it's all about that. That's the question with Tsitsipas. We know he's got the ability. We know he's got the quality. Is he fit?
Then these are the 5 top favorites. I'm gonna throw you some names, as we always do, Sean, and shortly you tell me if you expect them to arrive at least to the quarterfinals, because it's quite unlikely that these players can win the Australian Open. Most of them are really youngsters, and the first one, Jannick Sinner. Actually, the odds for him to win the tournament is exactly the same as Tsitsipas right now. 30, the Italian promise, no real experience in the Grand Slams. He got to the last 16 round in the US Open. Do you see him making at least quarterfinals?
Yes, in a word. His draw is in the same section, I think, as Tsitsipas, which is, well, it's in the bottom half of the draw. That I think is in that third quarter off the top of my head. But yes, I looked at his draw. It looks really good. He can't complain about that. Yeah, this guy's got all the talent. He's been playing some excellent tennis on hard court, certainly towards the end of last season. My only concern with him really is does he have the physicality to win a 5-set tournament? I've looked, I mean, the weather forecast doesn't look particularly difficult in Australia this year. It looks like it's sort of 25, 26, 27, a little bit changeable, but nothing hotter than 28 from what I've seen so far. So that would be a help for someone like Sinner, because he has had fitness problems before, sort of cramps, going into sort of 5-set matches. Does he have that physicality to last the whole distance in a 5-set tournament? Possibly not yet. Odds a little bit short for me at the moment, but his draw is great. He'll be really happy with that draw. Now, you could certainly see him making at least the quarters, maybe the semis. Yeah, definite possibility, but odds a little bit short for me, I think, at the moment.
Then another youngster, this one from Spain, everyone is talking about him, actually, the new Nadal, no? Carlos Alcaraz, 41 quarterfinals in the US Open, and actually he retired because he had cramps. Do you see him far?
Yeah, possibly. Again, I think he's drawn in Djokovic's section, or half, certainly. So that is the toughest half of the draw, so that could be a big problem for him. But if we're talking about pure ability, I think we're going to be seeing a lot of this guy in the next few years. Possibly more of a contender at the French, obviously, but he's shown that he's more than capable on hard courts. Got to the quarters of the US Open, recently back in September. Won on indoor hard at the Next Gen tournament, again back at the end of last season, beat Korda in the final there. He's shown a lot of ability on hard courts, on quick hard courts. So yeah, I think he's going to be a danger for anybody. Again, the issue with him, he is quite young. Is he capable of, similarly to Sinner, is he capable of going all the way with the 5-set matches? That was a problem for him at the US. I think he ended up having to retire there or something of that order. His body certainly let him down towards the latter stages. Again, that would be the problem. But again, talent-wise, he's right up there. You're probably better off backing him for the French Open, I think, at this point, rather than the Australian, and taking a punt on that, because Nadal and Djokovic aren't going to be around forever. Who knows what's going to happen to them in the next few months? This guy, I think, is going to be a big star and a big contender at Roland Garros. Maybe not for this fortnight, but he's certainly got the ability to get to the latter stage.
Well, hopefully we see Carlos Alcaraz for so many years. I will be happy.
I think you'll be happy with that.
I will be happy now that Nadal is getting old, although he's my age, I have to say. Then we have someone that we've seen around for a while, Andrey Rublev, odds 50 for him. Last season he did quarterfinals in Australia. Yeah,
we've talked about him a few times. Again, he's one of those that he's there or thereabouts. Still not at all convinced about him in terms of his self-belief in the big tournaments and the big matches. He's got a decent draw. Again, he's in the half away from Djokovic and Nadal and Zverev, which obviously means he's going to have to play Medvedev at some point if he wants to win this title. Can't see him beating Medvedev over best of 5 at a major. Not for me. I'd want a bigger price about Rublev. He's got the ability, but there are too many little problems with his game. The second serve is still a little bit too attackable. The backhand is perfectly okay, but not great. I can't see him winning, to be honest. Possible, but I'd want a bigger price.
Then we have Matteo Berrettini, odds 51, a guy who did great last season in the Grand Slams, final in Wimbledon, quarterfinals in US Open and Roland Garros, last 16 in Australia. He didn't start great the season as far as we saw him in the ATP Cup, though.
Yeah, he's another one that has a few fitness problems. I think he had to retire in the Australian last year. I think that's what happened. I think he had another abdominal injury, which happened to him again at the tour finals. So yeah, injuries have been a problem for him. His issue this fortnight is probably going to be Djokovic, assuming that the draw stays as it is. He'll have to get past Djokovic to make the semis. Don't see that happening, if I'm being honest. Fabulous serve, big forehand, a danger to any, certainly over the shorter best of 3 format. But I think over the best of 5, his backhand just isn't. It's just not good enough to beat the likes of Djokovic and Medvedev. Again, should be thereabouts. His draw looks okay up to the sort of quarters, but hard to see him beating Djokovic.
And the last one I'm gonna throw to you is Aliassime, 21 years old, and we saw him especially in the US Open performing really well, but also in Wimbledon he did quarterfinals. He's good in fast courts. Do you like him to get into the latest stages?
Yeah, again, he's another one. I think he's in the same section as Rublev and Medvedev. Again, another one with great talent. The question mark over him so far in his career has been the mental side. He's played in eight finals and yet to win a set in any of them. However, he did win the ATP Cup for Canada with Shapovalov a week or so ago. That might, although it's not technically a tour title for him. It might. He's not going to care about that mentally. I think that it might just give him that little bit of belief. Almost got a bit of the monkey off his back that he's won a final. Because I think that's certainly been holding him back. I think he is the kind of player that does get a bit nervy at times, and it does help. He's only young still, obviously, plenty of time for that to improve. But yeah, he's a contender in Medvedev's half of the draw. If Medvedev does get beat by one of these guys that we talked about earlier in the second or third round, then someone like Felix could definitely take advantage. If you're asking me whether I think he'll beat Medvedev over the best of 5 sets in a major sort of quarterfinal, semi-final, then probably not, to be honest, no.
Then these are the 10 top favorites to win the Australian Open. Some other player that you fancy that we should put our money when we are watching the tournament, even old players, or veteran players. Murray, we have Bautista, we have Carreño, we have Dimitrov. Do you fancy any of the veterans or some other youngster, or where we should put our eye on?
Yeah, I mean, someone like Dimitrov he's got a decent draw. He could be one if Tsitsipas isn't fit. He could go a long way. You really never know with Dimitrov. He's another one who's had fitness issues in recent times. But yeah, it's Dimitrov. Bautista Agut started this season a lot better. He had a bit of a weak season by his standards last year, and I was kind of thinking, well, have we seen the best of him now? He's getting on early 30s. But he's come out a change of coach after many years with the same guy. A change of coach that sometimes helps, and it certainly seems to have helped him at the start of the season because he played great in the ATP Cup. He's another one that could take advantage in that section of the draw that we talked about, the open section with like Casper Ruud, Sinner, Tsitsipas. It's really open. One of those guys could come through it. And you've got the veterans that are playing well. Like Cilic is playing well at the moment. You couldn't count out him completely, getting on a bit. Maybe his best years are behind him, but his last 6 months he's been playing really well. So he's in there with a chance at a big prize. Karatsev, we haven't talked about, got to the semis last year. He's someone that could, I mean, he's not got a great draw, to be honest, but he's someone that could light it up again with the power that he's got. Hurkacz is a bit of a strange player. He can either be fabulous or just kind of go missing a little bit, but he's another one that could go far. So there are possibilities. That third quarter, I think that's probably the one where you want to be looking at quite closely, and with Tsitsipas's situation, and maybe looking at someone like Dimitrov or Bautista, I think, to go well.
Perfect. Sean, we have everything now, a lot of info to bet and put our money on the Australian Open with or without Novak Djokovic. I'm sure we are going to enjoy it. Thank you, Sean. I'll see you very soon.
Thanks very much. Cheers.
So now you have all the tips and a lot of knowledge to bet on this Australian Open. Who are you backing? Let me know in the comment section. And of course, don't forget to press the like and subscribe to our channel and click the bell to get notifications. Besides, we also have a podcast for you. Thanks for watching. See you soon.